boys will be involved in such activities as war games, ambush techniques, and blowing stuff up.
Rock and roll.
Hello and welcome to our weekly film show with our critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
Now we're starting with the nominations for the 45th César Awards, the French version of the Oscars. Roman Polanski is an officer and a spy, leads the nominations with 12. Ladj leads Les Misérables, which is nominated for Best Foreign Language Oscar, has 11. Now, Lisa, you're happy about these nominations. But An Officer and a Spy could be considered a controversial choice because the director has been embroiled in sexual assault scandals.
Well, I think in this case the numbers speak for themselves. Enough of the 4,313 members of the Academy decided to recognize what they see as indisputable excellence. It doesn't mean it will win anything. If I ran the world, it would win at least Best Picture, Director, Actor for Jean Dujardin, Best Cinematography. It shows us that French cinema is in good shape. We have films nominated after that with 11 or 10, and they're almost entirely films that the movie-going public pretty much rushed out to see. And they're almost entirely films with adult, serious topics. One, La Belle Époque, is a bittersweet sort of time travel comedy, but the rest of them, Portrait de la jeune fille en feu, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, is a very serious drama about two women who fall for each other while one is painting the other's portrait. And that is one of the two films that are up for best, two female cinematographers out of 5 for that. And Les Misérables, of course, is representing France at the Oscars, and it's won award after award. It was a movie nobody wanted to make. They couldn't get funding for it, and it's the little movie that could. It's probably going to top 2 million admissions here in France.
That's right, and it started at Cannes, it's gone all the way to the Oscars. Let's remind ourselves about Les Misérables.
Ici, c'est notre vie. Toi, tu débarques, nous, ça fait 10 ans qu'on est là. On est les seuls à se faire respecter.
Eh les gars, soleil!
De quel respect tu me parles? Les gens d'ici, ils ont peur de vous, c'est tout.
C'est quoi l'histoire? Quand t'as volé un lion?
Ouais.
Mets la pression sur les petits, faut qu'on retrouve le lion. Arrête-toi là!
Bouge pas, arrête-toi!
Vous n'éviterez pas la colère et les cris.
Oh, we'll find out the winners of the Césars on the 28th of February. We already know the winners, though, for the French equivalent to the Golden Globes, the Lumiere Awards. Les Misérables took away 3 prizes. The ceremony took place earlier this week. We were there. Now, Lisa, you're the president of the Lumiere Academy, which is made up of the foreign press based in France who get to vote on their favourite French films of the year. What were the highlights?
Well, we have 13 award categories. Les Misérables won Best Film, presented by Isabelle Huppert, and Polanski was nominated in 5 categories for J'accuse, which is, of course, the story of what happens when a French officer finds out that Albert Dreyfus was convicted wrongly of treason and tries to get the government to acknowledge that. He won for Best Director. Best Actor was Raj Dizem for his performance as a small-town police chief. Noémie Merlan from Portrait of a Lady on Fire won Best Actress. Animation for I Lost My Body, which has gone all the way to the Oscars. Another film absolutely nobody wanted to fund. The guy was drawing by himself in a room for 5 years. And M by Yolanda Zoberman, Best Documentary, the absolutely riveting story of a young man who was routinely raped by rabbis in the Orthodox Jewish community when he was growing up.
Okay. Well, that was the Lumiere Awards that took place this week. Now we're going to move on to some of the films out this week. Nominated for 6 Oscars, including Best Film, Jojo Rabbit is a comic satire about a 10-year-old German boy in 1945 and his imaginary friend, who's called Adolf Hitler, played by the film's screenwriter and director, New Zealand-born Taika Waititi. Some commentators actually think this is kind of poor taste, even dangerous to use Nazis as comic fodder. What do you think?
I don't think there's any reason to refrain from ridiculing Adolf Hitler and the lethal inanity of Nazi ideology, so long as you do a good job. A recent survey says that 16% of French people have never heard of the Holocaust. Ouch. So I'm Jewish and also sort of familiar with some of the major events of the 20th century, and so I'm predisposed to thinking that going out of your way to hate Jews as a category makes about as much sense as poking yourself in the eye with a pork chop. Getting that message out to people who suffer from knee-jerk bigotry and doing it with satire is perfectly fine. The problem for me with Jojo Rabbit is that it just doesn't strike me as being that daring or that funny. It doesn't offend me. I just wish it was better, because Waititi has a very good cast and excellent sets and costumes, and the underlying message about where we get our beliefs and how easily children or gullible people can be indoctrinated, that is always ripe to explore.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the way the world looks to young Jojo.
Why so happy?
Things are changing. The Allies have taken Italy, France will be next, and soon the war will be over.
God damn it! Why does that make you happy? You hate your country that much?
I love my country. It's a war I hate. It's pointless and stupid, and the sooner we have peace, the better.
Oh, the war will end. We will crush our enemies into dust, and when they are destroyed, we shall use their graves as toilets.
Okay, no more politics. Dinner is neutral ground. This table is Switzerland. Let's eat.
So we see there, Jojo is a 10-year-old in Germany. Tell us more about the film.
Well, when the film starts, he's about to go to an indoctrination camp where the curriculum molds Jew-hating, Hitler-loving, rabidly patriotic little pre-soldiers. Jojo, short for Johannes, gets his nickname when he doesn't carry out a gratuitously nasty drill at camp. Jojo's mother is an energetic, Aryan mother. His dad is off at the front, or so he believes. Jojo has plenty to be confused about, though, because there's a girl hiding in the house, and she's Jewish, and like all Germans, he's been told to hate Jews. Jojo's very demanding and buffoonish imaginary friend, Adolf Hitler, very firm on that point. So for comic comeuppance, though, this movie cannot hold a candle to Chaplin's The Great Dictator, Lubitsch's To Be or Not to Be, Mel Brooks, the producers, or even Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds. And if you're looking for a serious film, Jerry Schatzberg's 1989 Reunion with a script by Harold Pinter, and 2002's Max with John Cusack as an art dealer who befriends the young Hitler who wants to be an artist.
Okay, that's Jojo Rabbit's review. Let's move on now. Iceland doesn't have a very big population, but the country has produced quite a few fine filmmakers. Out this week is A White, White Day, which premiered in Cannes, has been sold all over the world. Tell us more.
Well, the film's title refers to an Icelandic proverb suggesting that on days so white that the earth meets the sky, the dead can communicate with those still living. Now, that horizon-confounding whiteness fills the frame as the opening sequence shows a car on a winding road surrounded by snow and fog. It really feels as if something bad is going to happen, and it does. Ex-policeman Ingemundur, a man of few words, loved his late wife unconditionally, and he has little patience for the grief counselor he's required to go see once a week. But while going through a box of his wife's stuff, his cop instincts sort of kick in, and this already cranky man starts behaving very erratically.
Okay, well, let's take a look at A White, White Day.
Ég heyrði Bjössa öskraðan. Ætlaðu að drepa hann?
Nei, auðvitað ekki.
Og harður við sjálfa þig, Ingemundur. Þegar við elskum einhver af öllu hjarta, þá viljum við gera allt sem í okkar valdi stendur til að særa ekki frá hans.
So, Lisa, who's the audience for a film like this?
Well, good question. This is a sober, riveting art film, awash in stunning landscapes. I would say the ones visible outside our bodies and the mental landscape lurking within. Now, that sounds pretentious, but the film isn't, not at all. A flesh and blood catalog of ways to be masculine, from tender with his granddaughter to robustly no-nonsense when he's got a weapon. Ingemundur is a fascinating character, splendidly portrayed.
Okay. Well, there was recently a retrospective of American independent filmmaker Richard Linklater at Paris's Pompidou Centre. This week, his 1991 movie Slacker will be released in French theatres for the very first time. Does it hold up?
Oh, it does. It's a time capsule of laid-back denizens of Austin, Texas, that harkens back to the first stirrings of the American independent film movement. It's also funny as hell. Taking his cue from Schnitzler's La Ronde, his camera wanders around town in the course of one day, encountering people who embody the slacker ethic, which is the opposite of city slickers. It's a sweet example of what a creative person can do with a camera and instantly memorable oddball characters saying amusing, often incongruous things. Kevin Smith's Clerks had a similar vibe, and Slacker, which came out in 1991, cost $23,000 to make and took in $1.2 million.
Linklater actually went on to make a lot of more polished films, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. You may have seen the trilogy with Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. He also directed Fast Food Nation and Me and Orson Welles. And that experiment of making Boyhood with the same actors getting together a few weeks a year, every year, to film over the course of 12 years could have been a dud. It was glorious. Slacker is definitely worth getting up off the couch to see. Why do I say that? Well, in 2012, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It's also fun.
Sounds like a good advert for it. Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to leave you with Slacker. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
There's this new section, about how JFK and Jackie were, speed freaks, and they were just hopped up on amphetamines day in and day out. That's true. Oh, really? Yeah.
But this one here, it's my pride. It's been on 4 years, 2 months. A video image is much more powerful and useful than an actual event.